Yeah, what's up, everybody? This is Nate Beats. Subscribe to my channel if you can. My other channel is The Truth Channel. My name is Nathan Coleman. In this video, I will be talking about sounds and sound quality and what I have experienced with the tools that I have and what I hear from other people on YouTube and the internet and what I heard from other things, other outlets. But anyway, my opinion on this is I have learned that yes, we can make as musicians great sounds if you take a lot of time with cheap equipment. You can make some really nice stuff if you take the time and the energy to put in a lot of work to get a really good sound by putting a bunch of sounds together and layering them, or knowing how to put resonance, attack, decay, sustain, the effects, how much the effects is being applied, the shape of it, the LFO and all that stuff. But let me tell you something. What I learned from making beats, I've been making beats since I was 14 or 15, but it's been off and on. But the last 2 years, I really got back into it again. The last 2.5 years. So, like I have FL Studio, I have a Roland JDXI, I have a Korg Electribe 2, I have an Akai XR20, and I have a digital recorder that I don't know how to use it. I never really got into it because something on there is broke. I got it from a buddy of mine. That can come in handy though when I get the setup that I need. Right now I don't have an audio interface. I don't have that stuff, but this video is about sounds. But let me tell you, I have made some nice sounds before when I layered sounds together and when I took, a long time putting them together. But I think there's a myth going around where, people say that, oh, stock sounds are the same as like sounds that you're going to pay hundreds of dollars for, or expensive hardware. Like if you buy a keyboard that's like $1,500, $2,000, you're going to get way better sounds than if you buy a piece of equipment that's like $400, $500 to $1,000. Now, I heard hardware stuff like the Digitact sounds really good for being about $700, I think it is. I don't know if it got cheaper or more expensive, but if you want those quality sounds, and I know you guys and girls probably heard, people talking about sounds a million times, but I love sound. I love hearing sound. I love manipulating sound. I love creating my own sound. You know what I mean? And with these tools, I can only do so much. Like on the JDXI, there's only the filter, the cutoff, the LFO, and the effects on the front, and then you have to go into a menu. You have to menu dive. And the Korg Electribe too. You can come up with some really nice sounds if you combine them together. If you combine like 3 or 4 together, and you can combine 1 or 2 and come up with something nice. But you got to sit there and mess with it for a while before you come up with something, half decent. It isn't like when you buy, a Roland piano that's $1,400, like I forget what it's called, but it's one of the more expensive ones. FA06, FA08 in them. They have really nice sounds on there, like choir sounds, string sounds. And If you're thinking that you're going to find good sounds and good samples with stock sounds and stuff, you're not going to get really good quality sounds. You're going to have to do work. You're going to have to put in some time, and that's what we should be doing as musicians, but you're going to have to put time into those sounds. Because I know I sit here for hours on these machines, and sometimes it takes me hours just to come up with a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, and a sound or two, and like an effect that ain't that great, because it's only a $400 machine and the JDXI is $500. But I mean, there is some really nice synths on the JDXI, and the Electribe has a couple okay synths. There's a couple nice ones, but I came to learn this video is actually to warn people about, if you're going to get to a point where you're going to need sounds, you're going to need to come up with your own sound and sounds that you like and make your own kits. And here's what I'm saying. With stock sounds, you're going to have a very hard time doing that. I mean, you can put your own kits together, you can make them sound really good, but it's going to take a lot of time to do that. And then once you do that, you would have to save the sounds into your DAW or wherever you're saving them. I'm still new with a lot of this stuff, like saving stuff and where to save it and all that. So I'm just speaking on sound quality right now. But yeah, I just can't come up with any sound that I'm like really into. If I'm not feeling the sound, like if I'm not like, ooh, like I'm giving the the shit face, like, ooh, like you disfigure your face, that's when I know I have something that is like nice and people are gonna feel and like and see. That's why I know I'm nowhere near where I want to be or need to be, because the sounds are just not there. I mean, I have a couple of sounds and beats where I go, I do a little bit of ooh like right now, but I don't have the sounds that I need right now. That's why I need better sounds with, I need another hardware thing that has better sounds, or software. But I'm not going the software way, because I don't want to be on a computer all the time. So yeah, if you are someone new in this, or you've been doing this for a while now, and you're thinking that here's what I'm trying to tell you. You thinking that getting Ableton or some other DAW or some other plugin or VST or hardware thing is going to do you better? No, you got to get something. You got to buy something that is worth buying, that sounds really good and has a lot of good sounds, so you can have those good sounds, so you can keep using those over and over again and shaping and molding them to sound different. But there's a person that I like to use as an example of. Scott Storch has a particular sound. He's a hip-hop, R&B, dance producer. Scott Storch. A lot of you know who he is. But he uses that Indian, in that lean back, he uses the strings from, I believe it's a Korg. I'm not sure, but he uses the strings from a Korg or Yamaha, I forget which one it is, and then he uses a couple other sounds that are in a lot of his beats, and they're really good samples, and yeah, you just gotta have good samples to start with. A lot of the times, if they're a really weak sample, it's kind of hard to get them to sound really, really nice, unless you're an audio engineer unless you're you know how to master music, and I'm not to that point yet. I know how to mix a song really well, but mastering it and making it sound like really really polished and like punch and having it be clear, that's where I'm struggling right now with my craft. But I could still make nice beats. If I had better sounds and better samples to use, I'm not really a sampling artist. I prefer to make my own beats from scratch. Everything. The hi-hats, the punch, the snare, the clap, not the punch, the clap, the snare, everything. The voice, the choir, the instrument. I like to do it all from scratch and make my own melodies. But yeah, it's just, don't think that listen, I just downloaded Ableton Live Lite 10 that I got with my Electribe 2 like 8 months ago. I just downloaded it right now and I got on there and I went through all the sounds, and there's only a couple nice sounds on there. There's only a couple nice sounds. And then there's sounds that sound like everything else, like FL Studio, Korg Electribe 2, Roland JDXI. Roland JDXI, the instruments are more clear. On the Electribe 2, they're a little more muffled, and FL Studio, they're a little more muffled, but they're all the same sounds. They're all 808 sounds, 707. They're all the same, is what I'm saying. Don't think you getting a different DAW, Reason, GarageBand, Ableton Live. Now, if you get the real expensive one, yeah, you are going to get sounds. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to put in money to get good sounds. You have to. You got to buy a good plugin to get really good sounds. Nexus, the other ones. I can't think of them right now. But this is what I'm working on right now, is finding my sound, and I haven't found it yet. I haven't found like a good couple strings. I have two or three strings on the JDXI that I really like. And then on the Electribe, there's one string on there, and it's not bad, but it's not great. So that's like 4 strings. And then there's no choir sounds. There's no choir sounds on any of these things. On FL Studio, there's a couple, but they're not that great. You'd have to sit there and shape and mold them forever. So what I have learned in making music all this time and buying these cheaper things, like I said, it's like warm-ups. It's like layups in a game. These have taught me the beginning stage and the mediocre stage. But they're mediocre sounds that need polished and stuff and need worked on too much. It's just too much that you got to do. And that's why I'm telling you, when you invest your money. These are the 2 things that you want to invest your money in. You want to invest it in a piece of hardware. If you're going the hardware route, you want to have a piece of hardware. If it's MIDI, you want to have velocity sensitive keys. You want to have a nice pitch wheel, a nice modulation wheel. You want to have it to where you can tweak the sounds the way you want them. Whether that be an MPC, whether that be a MIDI controller, or some kind of keyboard workstation where you can tweak all the sounds and it's right on the front of the system if you don't want to menu dive. And the second thing is sounds. Now I see what these guys were saying this whole time about more sounds, because that's where my problem is I don't have the sounds that I need. The sounds that I think of in my head, I wish that I could bring those to life and just have them right on one of these machines and start making beats with it. It'd be crazy. I mean, it'd be nuts. I would be That's just another realm of reality. It would never happen, but yeah, you have got to put money into this thing. You're not just going to get everything for free. These free drum kits on the internet, yes, they have some nice sounds on them, but you're only going to be able to get them to sound a certain way because these more expensive drum kits and stuff, they have been compressed and they have been worked on by more expensive tools, and they sound way better, and they have engineers and other people that know how to make it sound really good making them. And see, this is the mistake I made. I didn't invest in something expensive and nice, from a 1 to 10, like an 8 to a 10, that I can have my sound library and my drum library and then do my own samples with my own voice, to do stuff like that with my own voice. I'm going to be doing that too. But you got to have those two things. Those are the two most important things. It doesn't matter what DAW you have. I'm here to squash this whole thing. It doesn't matter what DAW you have. It doesn't matter about spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on certain sounds. You want to get something that you like the sound of, one piece of equipment. And if you got to get two pieces of equipment, then you have to get that. But you want that one piece of equipment where you can tweak the sound and shape the sound and be able to manipulate the sound as much as you can. And you want the best sounds, or sounds that you really like and you can get into. Because if you're not into the sounds, you're not into the beat, really. I mean, yes, you can put a good beat together with some sounds that ain't that great. And then people will say, oh, well, what sounds are great and what sounds ain't great. You know when you hear a sound that is dull and just lacking that big sound and that ambient sound, that reverb, that chorus, when it's lacking stuff. So in this video, that is the two most important things, is sound and what piece of hardware you're using, and the software. If you buy a more expensive plugin, you're going to get better sounds most of the time. There are some things that are cheaper that sound really good, but it's a rarity. It's very rare that you get something that's cheap that sounds good. There is one thing that I heard not too long ago that sounds good. It's Arturia. It's either the Mini Brute or it's one of those. It's either the Micro Brute or the Mini Brute. They have some really good synth sounds. Korg, the little thing they came out with, that doesn't sound bad neither. There's a couple other ones. The Nexus Blue, the blue one that's like $400. It's a synthesizer. There's a couple that sound really good, but you got to get the sounds and stuff, man. That's what I'm learning for myself too. I have to get better sounds. So with that, make sure you get that piece of hardware that works for you and the sounds that work for you. Nate Beats, later.